The video that I did last night live has garnered over 500 views. And although it's far from viral, it's who's watching me. And so I have decided that what is necessary in all of this is a history lesson to tell everybody exactly what I know about my father. Because my dad was a serial child killer. And my stepmother was right along with him, you know? So I don't even know where to begin. So I'm hoping that people that I know who, you know, will jump in, ask any questions. I might as well get the one that I'm pissed off at the most first. But I'll get back to Ricky Chaddick and I'll get back to Johnny Gosh. And but I want to deal with the Jacob Wetterling case right now because it's the one that pisses me off the most. So how I found out about Jacob Wetterling is that my sister Kathy sent me pictures. Because, hey, my sister, because she lived in the Twin Cities, and my sister Cindy lived in Malacca, Minnesota. And so it's not like we weren't in that area. And she sent me pictures and said, I just want to know what you think of these. This is from an abducted kid. And the minute I saw them, I knew it was my dad. And so what were you supposed to do? I called the Jacob Wetterling Foundation. Glenna the Bad Witch, who's directly connected to the Dead Eyes at Cappy Club, Glenna the Bad Witch is the one who sent me the thing that showed that I had called the Jacob Wetterling Foundation. I never got the conversation, you know, but I did get that. And I had called them because I didn't know what else to do. So I ratted my dad out. And in the conversation, I told the woman, don't tell me, I'll tell you. Jacob Wetterling was abducted by a dude that was driving a great big blue utility truck. And she got really quiet on the phone. Then she told me I was right. And then she asked me how I knew that, because that was never released to the public. But my dad had a great big blue utility truck. He was a Northern propane gas manager in Grettinger. The plant itself was outside of town. It was right on the edge of town, but you drove past it when you went to Esterville, but for the most part, it was isolated, and it had this great big utility shed. And that's where we moved after they made me light that dude on fire. Because they made me light that dude on fire, and then we ran to Grettinger. And so we ran to Grettinger. So that was all. We were in Grettinger. My dad had this plant that was isolated. He could do whatever the fuck he wanted. He had a great big blue utility truck. He was in between Cindy and my sister Kathy, because my brother Steven lived in the Twin Cities too. So he was back and forth the whole time. So I figure, okay, well, now they know. So nothing gets done. So then I go on the John B. Wells show, and everything that I'm saying to you right now, you can go and listen to what I said years ago, because it's on this channel. Just go down, John B. Wells. I'll put it in the description. But so I go on the John B. Wells show, and all I'm talking about is the Jacob Wetterling case, because that was what I was focused at the time. I think I also talked about Johnny Gosh. I probably brought up Ricky Chaddick. It's not like all of this stuff doesn't blend together. So in the 2-hour time, another dude was on the interview with John B. Wells. And he actually asked John B. Wells, are you going to ask him some questions? And John B. Wells said, no, I'm just going to let him talk. Well, I thought, oh, well, cool. Not realizing less than 2 weeks later, a 28-year-old cold case they couldn't solve was solved with a perp, a confession, and a body. Less than 2 weeks after I did that interview. And the reason why it pisses me off is because the abductor pics changed. And of course, I'm battling with Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, the founder of the Satanic Temple, and all his minions at the time. And I said, the abductor pics aren't even the same. And I was told, yeah, their memory got better after 26 years. And all of the bullshit that Danny Whalen was in prison. I think he's still in prison. He's never going to get out of prison, I don't think. He was never charged with the crime, ever. He just gave a confession. And it was less than 2 weeks after that interview. And I will put it in the description on this video. You can go listen to yourself what I said. And it has been frustrating. So Ricky Chaddick, another boy. The thing about it is, what they don't tell you about Jacob Wetterling is that my dad figured out which one of those boys to take because he grabbed all 3 of them by the fucking genitals. My dad was looking for a specific little boy, you know? And I know my dad I grew up with my dad and his friends fucking killing little boys in Hummel Park. So it wasn't a great big leap for me, you know? So Ricky Chaddick is a boy that was abducted and murdered. He was seen in a white Cadillac with a man and a woman. Well, my grandmother Shurter had a Cadillac, and my dad and my stepmother. And so Ricky Chaddick, another case. They vacationed at Silver Lake, Minnesota. We had a place at Silver Lake, Minnesota. You know? And hey, I've just decided to come do a history lesson. So some of this is going to be boring for you guys because I'm not going to be telling anything that you guys haven't heard already. If you have questions, feel free to ask. So I go to Detective Cold Case State Patrol dude John Pankinen. And I want John Pankinen to take my DNA and compare it to the Ricky Chaddick case because I knew it was my dad and there was DNA that was left. And I ended up having to argue with this motherfucker to take my fucking DNA. So I go to see him, but he can't do the test until like a week or so later. Maybe it was a couple weeks later. And during that time, a woman who introduced herself as True, John Pankinen's sister, ingratiated herself in both my life and my sister Kathy's life, who also lived in town. And I again was naive, thinking, oh, well, they must be, you know. No. Who John Pankinen wanted to blame it on was my best friend who just I believe they just murdered. His brother. That's who they wanted to pin Ricky Chaddick on. Because Owen's brother, Neil, was Ricky Chaddick's stepdad. And so they wanted to, I don't know why they made it so hard. The whole thing, yes, I do know why they made it so hard. It wasn't until a while ago, I was watching, I don't like Nick Bryant, but for some reason on my YouTube thing, he came up and he had interviewed Alicia Owen. And so I watched it because I wanted to know what Alicia Owen had to say. And the one thing, the most important thing that I took out of that whole situation is John Pankinen was the fucking cop who made all the shit go away with Alicia Owen, too. And I didn't know that at the time. I had no clue. I was out of town when the whole Franklin thing actually went down. I think people knew about it in town. And my mom, out of nowhere, came up with money to send me to Florida. My mom sent me to Florida. I think my mom knew what the fuck was getting ready to happen, and she wanted me far, far away from it. So when it went down, Alicia Owen and Paul Bonacci and Troy Bonner, who I knew and couldn't stand, I think that I am having luck. Do you think you would have better luck talking to the federal authorities? What I know is that investigators are watching me. That's why I'm doing a whole history lesson this time, today, because I'm just explaining everything that's already out there anyway. I'm just repeating myself from some of you, but others don't know the history. So I go to John Pankinen, and his sister ingratiates himself, and then John Pankinen comes back and tells me that the DNA didn't match, which did not surprise me because this dude did not want me to give my DNA. He didn't. It was bizarre to deal with it. And but it's because my dad and the shit that he's connected to is connected to a way bigger thing that was the precursor to Jeffrey Epstein. All of the shit that was going on at Franklin and Omaha, and it wasn't just going on. This whole prostitution of boys and all of that, that wasn't just going on in Omaha. It was going on in Houston, Texas at the exact same time. And who was in charge of Texas and the government at that time? Oh, I don't know. That's right. It was the ex-head of the fucking CIA, George Bush Sr. But I know he lives on fucking Mount Olympus. Nothing could actually ever affect anything else. See, this is why I hate dealing with this shit, because it irritates the piss out of me. All of it, because it's so blatant in front of people's faces. And yet, here I am, still having to do this kind of bullshit. So, nothing happened with the Ricky Chaddick case, except that they tried to go after Neil. Neil was not guilty. Neil loved them. You know, Owen loved them. And so, I know how many fucking serial child killers were there in the group? Well, I don't know. My dad was one, you know, Johnny Gosh. That's after I went through the Ricky Chaddick thing. And then all of a sudden I got drawn into this franklinfiles.net, which was a little honeypot. And there I got to interact with Noreen Gosh and Paul Bonacci and the whole lot of them. Noreen and I actually ended up at Saigon. And John DeCamp, who wouldn't even talk to me before that, ended up coming with Noreen Gosh and her, I don't know who the dude was. And it was the weirdest lunch. And it was quick because I was so uncomfortable. And I'm the one who picked the restaurant because it was one of my favorite restaurants. But so Noreen Gosh, because they all did at the beginning what they always do. They're your best fucking friend. Oh, they're your friend. They'll love bomb you. Oh, they ingratiate themselves into your lives until they've decided that you've become a threat, and then they all turn as a group. And Noreen Gosh is a gatekeeper. Flat out. Damn gatekeeper. She's known enough information about her son's abduction. She could have had it busted open a long time ago. The three brothers that she talks about are the Aquasino brothers. The Aquasino brothers lived right across the street from my family when they were kids. I don't know if I was born. I don't know at the time. If I was an infant, because the youngest of my oldest siblings is 12 and a half years older than I am. And my Cindy was 16 years older. Stephen was in the middle. And so when How was interacting with Noreen Gosh when she turned on you, it was awful. They went for the throat. And John DeCamp was a fucking idiot. He was I didn't like any of them. Paul Bonacci, the whole story doesn't make any sense. Oh, before I get involved with this, because I just thought about it, let me go back to Jacob Wetterling for a minute. The story now is that they couldn't tell the dude's features very well because he put a stocking cap over his head. And Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple and the Dead Eyes at Cappy Club, will show screenshots of the video that I did when I put the thing over my head. But I went out and bought the lightest nylon you could possibly get. And sat out in the middle of the day in the sun in Washington. I lived in Algona, so I just went in the backyard and put that fucking thing on my head and did a video because I couldn't see anything. And it was the middle of the fucking day. So this dude had a stocking cap over his face at 9 o'clock at night in Minnesota in the fall. And the fact that people actually believe this bullshit is the most frustrating of all. Because nobody really fucking cares. Nobody cares. But interacting with Noreen Gosh became a nightmare. And Paul Bonacci, the thing is that if you go back and look at who was he dealing with? Ted Gunderson, who I also interacted with a lot and for a while, until I found out that he was giving Noreen information that I was telling him. And it was a huge fiasco. All of it can be found on my blog. I had my blog at the time, and I was writing about all of it. Go search my blog. I'm not saying anything I haven't said before. Again. And so, but if you look back at those interviews with Paul Bonacci, knowing what we know now about DID, his performance was so over the top, ludicrous, stupid that it was an act. It was all a lie. Because Alan Baer, who was all involved with Franklin, sent Troy Bonner, who was a Bear boy. I knew him through Alan Baer. And Paul Bonacci, who I've said came out of nowhere, and they surrounded that Alicia Owen. It was sad, because it was all over national news. And they surrounded her, and she was the whole key to breaking the whole thing. She was the key to breaking it, because she was pregnant with Robert Wadman's baby, and she was a minor. And it all led back to all of this shit, which I write about in Rabbit Hole. It's the whole Johnny Gosch case was used as a distraction because everything that was going on in Franklin, all the child trafficking, all of the shit that was going on, Alicia Owen is not a bright girl. I mean, she's very nice. She seems very nice, but she's not, you know, she's not handicapped or anything, but she's naive, you know? Hey, cognitive. She's naive. That's what I've seen. And I've only watched videos of her. I have never personally interacted with Alicia Owen. My mom has. My mom has. My mom ended up in jail because she got drunk and drove her boyfriend's car and smashed into another car. And they put her in jail, and she's walking on a walker. It was just the weirdest thing. But they stuck her in jail for a week. And during that week, she interacted. Alicia Owen came up to my mother, and my mother acted, and she wouldn't tell me a damn thing. My mom always tried to keep me as far out of it as she possibly could. But I was with David Klotz and everyone else. There was no way to keep me out of it. But like I said, the reason why I survived is because she sent me to Florida. That's the reason why when I came back 2 weeks later after David Klotz got murdered, and the dude who went to jail for it isn't the one who should have gone to jail, because he didn't know the gun was loaded, because he always played with it. He never put a bullet in it. But someone did, the third person that was there. And the same person who, when I came back 2 weeks later, told me they had a gift from me from Alan Bear, because he was also an Alan Bear boy. He was also a bear boy. And I was presented with a white towel full of bone and brain fragments of David Klotz 2 weeks later. And I knew that there was nothing that could be done, you know? And I just had to fucking deal with it. I'm here and safe because heaven has me here and has me safe. But, you know, you can only be so safe. So let me continue with the history lesson. So everything that was going on with Franklin. So Franklin, notice how Franklin all became about a boy that was abducted, one of three, by the way, in another state, because it was West Des Moines, Iowa, where they all got abducted. So all of a sudden, nothing gets focused on in Omaha, and it's all on this paper boy that's in West Des Moines. And that was because they were trying to cover up the real story of all the shit that was going on at Hummel Park and Forest Lawn Cemetery and the old market. If it was really about Franklin, that, oh my God, I can't even think of his name right now. Caradori was the one who got, that's the lawyer. I'll think about it. I won't get out of this. He got abducted from in the old market. And his parents lived in Council Bluffs, and they got Danny Whalen. Danny Whalen was the dude who found him. He was an investigative lawyer, and they broke in Oregon and found the dude with I can't think of his name. That's the thing about all of this stuff, is that it's stressful, and their fucking weapon is on me in a way that I can't even begin to describe to you, you know? And it's awful to sleep in. It's miserable. But this is all the shit that they're upset about, because this is all the shit that I've been exposing and talking about, you know? So I've dealt with Ricky Chaddick. I've dealt with Jacob Wetterling. I've dealt with pretty much the history lesson. Those are the ones that I know about. You know, in '83, my dad took me. It was the one and only time my dad ever took me to his gas station plant thing that was outside of town. And he let me fire his gun off. Just one, I got to shoot it a couple times. He only put a few bullets in it. So I was able to shoot it. And I never thought about it. But I think my dad was trying to set me up when I was a kid, because it was the one and only time that he'd ever let me shoot that gun. And they were afraid of me. Why would you give a teenage boy a gun if you were afraid of him? Because my parents were not afraid of him. Because I used to never be able to say no. And I always had a dumbass grin on my face. And I was always trying to people please. And because I've never really fit in, And for a long time as a kid, it was just hiding shit. You don't so much repress all of this shit as you just try not to think about it. You do all you can not to remember it and not think about it. And I'm just being required to not only think about it, but actually talk about it. Because the shit that I have gone through, I just know the Slime King has written emails that I, again, have forwarded to investigators and police discrediting Michael Aquino. But the shit that they were into and that they were teaching was just, all of that shit was going on at Offutt Air Force Base, where all these people that got rich in Omaha because they were shipping fucking drugs from the Contras into Offutt Air Force Base. And it was being distributed by people like PJ Morgan and Dick Bishop, who had a great big mansion right behind Deshaun Academy. And the Hells Angels lived above him, and that's who was transporting the drugs and the kids, All of this shit never got investigated. And what was frustrating is that then, if you watch Dr. Tom Philpott down in Houston, he exposes the same shit. Boys for Sale. It's on YouTube. You can go watch it. Boys for Sale. And it's the same kind of shit that was going on in Omaha, Nebraska. Exact same. Going on at the exact same time. That's why I say with this government stuff, my training, I only needed to take down one of them. I only needed to prove one thing. Because once I proved one thing and people realized that I was telling the truth about that, they will start giving me credit for all the other shit that I have been talking about. And they'll start actually looking into it. And so that gas station explosion, it's funny because I started thinking, one of my favorite movies ever is V for Vendetta. And I've emailed all of them. I've told them over and over and over, just reminded them that Frankenstein always loses control of his monster. And his monster always returns to fuck his maker's shit up. And what I started thinking about in the movie is that there is a part where the cop, it's not exactly the same, obviously, but the cop asks V, the main character, what were you waiting for? And V looks at the cop and says, I needed you. I needed you. And I started thinking about that in the context of Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross. And I needed him and this gas station. Because this gas station explosion is so fucking in your face blatant that it cannot be denied. You can't fucking deny it. And that's all God. Because like I said last night, who could have foreseen me getting interviewed? Is the Jubert thing connected? I've thought of it as part of a distraction. John Jubert was not involved with that at all. Notice how all of their fucking stories have changed, And My dad had a history, and what he did with Jacob, it goes along with everything. And so grabbing him by the crotch, feeling who had the smallest fucking dick, that's what he was looking for. And he had the opportunity going back and forth between Malacca and St. Paul, Minnesota. It's right in the fucking middle, And you don't have to if you want to hear everything about it, I'll post the John B. Wells show. That happened less than 2 weeks after they suddenly came out with Jacob Wetterling. And they don't want my family investigated because my family leads to other things. Investigating my father and my stepmother will lead everyone to me, and they have done everything they could possibly do to prevent that shit from happening. That's what they've done. The stuff that I'm dealing with the Dead Isaac Cappy Club is nothing new. It's all shit I've had to deal with over and over and over with this group. And they want to make it about me, and it's not about me. It is in that I'm not going to stop trying to expose it. And the spiritual stuff that I was trained to do, that I do instinctively by Aquino and his little group of fucking Nazi scientists, works. And I know it works. And they're fucked in ways they cannot even begin. They are focused on me and trying to protect their secrets because they can't get it through their thick fucking heads. That's the least of their fucking works. Because what's ahead of them is none of it will matter. None of it will matter. Not involved. Oh, they did use him as a distraction. They did use him as a distraction. I find it interesting that when everything in Omaha started to break apart in the 70s, it started to come, all of a sudden, Michigan had 4 ritually murdered children. 4 ritually murdered children. When everything was starting to come out, they call them the Oakland 4. And my dad was from Michigan, had a plane, flew all around, flew all around. All of the shit that is coming out is just, I know what my family was fucking involved with, and I know the group that was involved with it. It's the same goddamn group that's fighting me now, sending me threats. And they've already started. I've already gotten a fucking email from one of them bragging about how their threats did, on the new email, I'm just not playing. I'm just not gonna play, The darkness is about to claim their fucking asses, and they're too goddamn stupid. They won't fucking listen to a word I'm saying. But they're not after me because I'm a liar. And they're not after me because they think I'm crazy. So it's because I'm fucking telling the truth. That's why they've been after me. And I've documented it throughout all of the years, all of the shit. And it's frustrating to I do what I can not to think about this stuff. That's why I didn't want to do this video, because I knew that I would become irritated with this video, because it irritates me with all of their stupid shit. Pizzagate was CIA. The reason why Pizzagate came out is because all that John Podesta stuff came out, and the shit about spirit cooking and all of that, and they needed a distraction from all of that. So suddenly we had Pizzagate. And Pizzagate didn't fucking make any sense. And that's why it was designed to do that. Because then people would look at Pizzagate, realize how fucking stupid it was, and then throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's what they always do. Except that it only fueled the fire to the point where that dude went up and shot it all up. And then all of a sudden, we didn't have Pizzagate anymore. Suddenly it was QAnon. And QAnon was involved. But I've talked about QAnon before. Because I know that Doug Mesner and his little satanic temple weirdos are involved somehow in QAnon. And I didn't know that until I heard that story about that QAnon dude who they convinced his kids had demon seeds or something in him. I don't know. All I know is that he fucking drove them into Mexico and harpooned them to death because of the shit that they convinced him to do on those with that QAnon bullshit. And I recognized that story the minute I fucking heard it, because that's the same shit they did to survivors. They would go to the SMART conferences in Connecticut, connect with survivors, love bomb them, just become their best friends. Then when everyone went home, they would be these victims would be invited to these secret Facebook groups. And they had all these secret Facebook groups where they were just, oh, everyone was great. But then suddenly things reversed. And then they started telling these women that they had parts, because it was women who suffered from multiple personality disorders. And they were convincing these women that they had evil parts. And the only way to get rid of those evil parts was to fucking commit suicide. And it was fucking working. You can see why I get fucking frustrated with this bullshit. Because it's just so in my face. I hate these motherfuckers. I fucking hate them. And I'm about to bring them the motherfuck down. And so, just give me a minute. I'm sorry. Nobody realizes how hard it has been and just what it's taken to deal with this for so long, you know? And I'm not gonna stop. Why? You know, it's defined my whole fucking life from the very beginning. And so I might as well just stop fighting. And I stopped fighting a long time ago. You know, I stopped fighting a long time ago. Once I realized that fucking killing little boys in Hummel Park and sacrificing them to me and other demons, I knew demons existed. And then it was just, I knew without a doubt demons existed. And it wasn't until after all the shit that went down when I was 13, it was when I was like 14, 15 years old, I really started to dive in to the whole shit about Jesus Christ and learn about what he had to say. Because everything that went down, I realized if demons existed, that means that the other side had to exist. And that's what drove me to the other side. Because I knew that demons existed. So if demons existed, it made sense that God and heaven existed too. Because there's two sides to this. And so I used what I was taught to focus on that. And yeah, I was abnormally focused on it as an individual. They convinced me I was going to be the vessel for the fucking Antichrist. And I didn't want to be the vessel for the Antichrist. So I was really focused on how to get out of it, you know? And so, divine plan, you're a part of it. Yes, yes. In a way, all of us are. You know, we all are. And there's a whole army of us. It's just that I reserve a different place in all of this. I reserve a different place in all of this because these idiots trained me, and they also pledged their souls to me when I was a child, you know, and protection rituals and all of that because they believed I was going to be the vessel for the Antichrist. They just never realized that I could help him cross, that I could release him because I didn't want him inside of me. And I didn't even release him. I went and had a psychopumping done, you know, which I've talked about. And Eric Sean, happy birthday. Happy birthday to my dad. How lucky you are to have such a nice daughter, too, you know? Yes, I dodged becoming the Antichrist. In the end, I searched everything. When I was a kid in my 20s, I was bright and I read, and I'm a quick reader. And I went through the Bible. I've read the Bible 3 times from front cover to back, and I don't know how many times. And Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I can't tell you how many times I've read those. However, I also read the Kabbalah. I read the Egyptian shit. I went and read the Quran because I was looking for all I wanted was, if you're supposed to be the Antichrist or the vessel for the Antichrist, but you don't want to be the vessel for the Antichrist, how the fuck do you get out of it? And do you know, in all of my stuff, admit game pro gamer, happy 19th. You couldn't pay me to go back. I'm glad you're young, you know, appreciate it, but stay safe. Stay safe. You know? Exactly. Me Too and the Bible was the only one that made sense. The teachings of Jesus Christ, you can't argue with. They're infallible. And trust me, I have tried, and I'm a bright person, but everything he said, you know, he came to teach us how to live the word. Because when I tell you to fill your hearts with love, that's basically, in essence, what I'm telling you. You have to live the word and do things that, for me, it's been doing uncomfortable things, you know? I've gone through hell, but I also realize, even with everything that's going on, heaven never left my side. And I like that footsteps thing, but heaven isn't behind us. It's inside of us and all around us. You couldn't get away from it if you tried, you know? And so it's just best to do what we're told, and that's to, you know, live the word. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said over and over and over and over. You know, I'm just, yes, Jesus Christ definitely softened my heart. But shamanism saved me. Because what they opened up inside of me, I was opened up and bound to the dark. You know, was part of this crap, you know? And it was more than just brainwashing, but brainwashing, yeah, as a kid, you know, people think that we are crazy for believing his word, but those same people are the ones denying that kids are going missing all over the fucking place, you know? And it's not just white kids, it's black kids, especially indigenous kids. Some things, it's so obvious and in your face. This whole fascist bullshit thing, you know, this whole cat and dog eating bullshit is once again connected with a fucking neo-Nazi group. Those very fine people. It's not a coincidence. Because this whole group, and Fred Trump was in Hummel Park every time. He was high up. And so, no, the Haitians aren't eating their pets. They're not eating their pets. Do you know what it's doing to Springfield? The whole town of Springfield is getting behind the Haitian community because they've had bomb threats at their fucking schools. And it was promoted by this fucking neo-Nazi group from one Facebook post. They've gone down and found the one Facebook post. My sister's friend's cousin saw, and that's what the Facebook post is. You know? It's not true. But this whole Nazi thing, oh yeah, they're about ready to, they're gonna do their thing. It's been planned since I was a kid. Fuck, it was well into the plans when I was a kid. And, but it ain't gonna work the way they fucking think it's gonna work. It's already not working the way they think it's gonna work. And the difference is that quantum, you know, it's just a matter of physics. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And what they couldn't fathom, even though they were told how many thousands of years ago that heaven would be here. Heaven would focus on this. And I'm telling you, heaven's focused. Fill your hearts with love. You know, live the word. That's the only thing we can do. That's the only thing. Any advice, like last night I was asked for advice because their shit's going down. Their shit is going down and fast. Especially around me. The gas station thing is just, that didn't sit right with anybody. And so now they're starting to realize that there's a reason why this group has been after me and why they were focused on me. There's a reason why I was told by the other side to open up comments and start talking about Isaac. Because talking about Isaac Happy brought me a whole different line that Isaac's friends sucked. And Isaac was just, I feel sorry for him in a way, but in another way, I just want to smack him, you know? I'm just, so, but his friends sucked. But it was worthwhile to go through that. I'm done going through it. I don't play anymore. I don't have to play. I'm trying to educate people. That's why I did this live video, because I wanted to give a history lesson of the shit that I've been involved with. Everything on my blog. You can go see on my blog. My dad was a fucking serial child killer. He killed little boys. They all liked little boys, except the Oakland Four. There were 2 girls, I believe. You know? But I think that they were connected to the Oakland Four, too. You know? Makes sense, because all the shit was getting ready to come out in the 70s about Franklin. But it wasn't about Franklin credit. It was about what was going on in the old market and the child prostitution on the run and all of the fucking weird ass sex killing people in Hummel Park and Forest Lawn and all of the drugs that were being flown into off at Air Force Base during the Iran-Contra scandal. It was just completely out of fucking control. But now it's all being brought in, and all of these idiots are just worried as shit that their secrets are going to come out, and they don't realize how close this world is to ending. The core of the planet has stopped fucking spinning. I'm not talking about anything that's you can go look at science things, because that's what I read. Science.com. It's NASA's site. That's where I get a lot of my shit. The core of the Earth has stopped spinning. The sun is only getting worse with its X flares, and we have no magnetic field to protect us right now because the poles are getting ready to switch. Same with the Hawaiian kids. They all disappeared. The kids from the border, they all disappeared. From what I understand, social services and family shit, kids disappear. I was told by people who dealt with child trafficking in Omaha that they wouldn't take kids to places in Omaha because what was happening is they would bring them in and see them go out the back door, and they were being trafficked. Now, whether or not this group was real, who knows? Because they send all kinds of weird, bizarre bullshit your way. It's a fucking circus to deal with this group. And it's done on purpose. And it's exhausting. And I have gotten to the point where I'm just sick of it. So I'm not going to deal with it anymore. It's all out in the fucking open. Everyone knows. Everyone has seen it. And people are now investigating it, especially around here. Because I would be willing to bet that when the insurance place in Des Moines got my letter, they weren't real happy about what they learned about the Erling, Iowa gas station explosion, which was in no way difficult to prove. But then again, it was God. Who could have foreseen how beneficial it would be that both Neil Gross and I got interviewed all about the Erling gas station explosion? No plausible account of deniability. None. None. Wasn't their job to fucking count explosions? Huh. And who could do that? Just not everyone could just do that. You know? I don't think that George Soros did it. You know? Notice, is he dead? Because notice how you never hear about him anymore. You know? They always have us running after some dumbass boogeyman that is not real. And it's them that's real. And I am taking down this fucking child trafficking bullshit. My father was connected to this group. I can easily prove the history of everything I have said in this video. And so it's already out there. You know? There's no there's no putting the cat back in the bag. You know? The genie ain't gonna go back into the Bible. Oh, don't they all? Exactly. Looks like Palpatine at this point, if he's alive. You know? This planet is done for. You know? They're all dying. And the whole thing about it is that no, they're not afraid of hell. But I watched this thing on YouTube someone sent me of the last words of fucking Satanists. You can just go type in Google the last words of Satanists. Talks about Anton LaVey and Alex Crowley and all of that. And you want to know what? At the moment they were fucking dying, not a fucking one of them was happy. It was interesting to listen to. You know? It was interesting to listen to. But all of their shit has fallen down. And they're fighting for a world that's over. And all of their shit, now they don't even have time to repent. There's not enough time, you know? We've been judged and have been found wanting. That's the issue, you know? Yes, there'll be a great gnashing of teeth. What a lot of people don't remember is that if you if you read, when Jesus comes back with a sword, and he has blood on his tunic. And there is a great gnashing of teeth. Exactly. A great gnashing of teeth. And I have asked people in the past, so he's coming back with a big sword. So since you expect to have your cake and eat it too, I guess he's bringing that sword to cut the cake for you. And your great big, and the whole gnashing of the teeth will be all of you enjoying your cake while you eat it. Is that exactly? Exactly. He's covered in the blood of his enemies. Heaven's enemies, I know the group that stands against heaven intimately. I had to deal with them when I was a kid, and they've all bound themselves to me as adults. Fuck, all of these goddamn child killers sought me out. Couldn't stop themselves, you know? And in turn, bound themselves to me just like I needed to, just like I needed them to. Because now they're bound to the dark, you know? In the end, faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. My goal in this is to separate the faithful and the innocent away from these motherfuckers. I want them separated so that they're safe. And it could only happen spiritually. It couldn't happen. You couldn't do anything on this side. You couldn't. It all had to happen spiritually. I'm not kidding you. After everything that went down, when my dad died, and then having to go do that psycho pumping, which I write about in Confessions of an Antichrist. I'm not saying anything that I haven't already written about in a book. And then on my 40th birthday, helping release the demon that had gotten inside of me, and all of that. I didn't understand how, because a lot of times shit happens and I don't understand what's going on. And so I went and did a 30-minute journey, and I know it's 30 minutes because that's when I journey for 30 minutes. I have a 30-minute drumming tape. It's just easier to focus when this is your brain that you're asleep when you're actually awake. And I'm good at focusing because of what I was trained to do. And in that 30-minute journey that I went to go was just like, what the fuck just happened? I was told 4 times in a 30-minute journey, I will come to you as a thief in the night. And then I came away from that, of course, thinking, oh my God, I'm about to be robbed. Heaven is warning me that I'm about to be robbed. But then, after a few days of thinking about it, what I started to realize is, if I could go and seek out the fallen, if I could help one cross over, I could help all of them cross over. And once I helped all of them cross over, this group that fucking kills children to get favor and tribute from this group won't get favor and tribute anymore from that group. And so I spent years going and helping with that. And I'm not saying anything I haven't already written about in Confessions of a fucking Antichrist. Whether or not you understand my spiritual journey does not negate it in any way. And I just keep repeating the same shit over and over and over and over again. It's just the same shit over and over and over again. But I know that they are fucking doomed. They can't fight what's coming. They can't fight what's coming. And so, have you ever been to Grass Valley? I've never even heard of Grass Valley. Can you explain what that means, bound to you? Why would they be condemned to the dark by being bound to you? This group bound themselves to me as a kid in Hummel Park. And dealing with heaven, what I needed to do was make myself enough of a threat that they stood up and tried to strike me down. And in doing so, as an adult, I got this group to, it's not so much that they bound themselves to me, is that they bound themselves to the dark. Because even though right now I'm connected to the dark, I serve heaven. My whole focus is on heaven. And the darkness is more, for me, as always, kind of a just, it's here to just, if you don't have fucking love in your heart, you're going to get claimed by the dark because you ain't going to ascend. That's, I can't say it any easier. I can't say it any better way. And that means repenting and turning around and living the word. That's why I say people are fucked because we're out of time. And we knew we were going to be out of time. And there are people who do not have enough time to actually even figure it out. You know? And that's what it said. It's going to get claimed by the dark. Because this is all the shit that I was trained as a kid. I had a perspective of this since I was a child. You know, I was raised by fucking devil lovers who fucking murdered children. You know, to say that my growing up days were abnormal or not the norm, you know, go see what LeVay said as he was dying. He's one of them that's in there. What they saw right before they died. If you're a fucking devil lover, go look at that video. Go look at that video. All of your little fucking leaders and heroes and all of that, go see what they all had to say. Because when you're close to death, there's no more veil. And you can see what's ahead of you. There's no more veil. And the thing about it is that I personally believe that I chose to come here to serve God. So yes, it was unfair, but I also think that I came here for a reason, you know? And none of us die. That's the whole thing. None of us die. You just go to the other side. Death is an illusion, you know? You die in this life, but death is an illusion. And LeVay also put a hit on Max Spears. Max Spears was murdered by Michael Aquino. And I know he was murdered by Michael Aquino because Max Spears and I had just started talking a week and a half before Max was murdered. In fact, we were planning on actually talking more when he got fucking back from Poland. And they murdered him, you know? It was just two people I've reached out to. Max Spears, Fiona Barnett. And Fiona Barnett and I can't be friends, you know? We have talked, I will honestly say, because everyone got me thinking about it, so I reached out. But then we got into a fight, and in exactly right after, because she wants me out of all of this. She wants to be out of it, she wants me out of it if we're going to be friends, and I can't do that. And so people don't realize me doing this shit puts a wedge, and always fucking has. I lost a relationship over this shit, you know? Friends. My whole life. Over and over and over. I've lost people in it that they've murdered, you know? And, but it's all right, because spiritually, they're fucked. They're fucked. They're fighting to keep their little secrets here quiet, and they don't realize none of this is going to matter. None of this is going to matter. And their little fascist takeover isn't working anywhere. Anywhere. All of the leaders are starting to lose control. They're all starting to lose control. You just need to go look at news other than fucking Fox News or MSNBC. Go fucking read shit. You know, that's the better news anyway. And what the fuck is happening in the world? Because it's happening in the world. It's all over the place. And the world is not your little on your little lives. There's so much more. You know, there's so much more. And oh, it's over. Judgment's actually already been had. Now we're coming into, you know, we're all about ready to be claimed. I think judgment has pretty much been had, and we're about to be separated. And the sheep will be separated from the goats. And that's metaphoric, but there's only two sides to this mess. You either serve heaven or you get claimed by the dark. That's how it works. That's how it works. And you can bitch and say that it's unfair and how wrong you feel it is, but it's the way it fucking is. There's two sides to this. You either serve heaven or you get claimed by the dark, because then and there's no fence sitting, you know? There's no fence sitting anymore. And history is not going to repeat itself. We're not going to have another Adolf Hitler. We're not going to have that. And the reason why we're not going to have that is because this time, all of heaven is here. All of heaven is in complete control. And judgment's been made, you know? Judgment's been made. Heaven is inside of us and all around us. You can't hide your shit on the other side. There's no hiding anything on the other side. And so, Max was not poisoned. He was drowned. Max Spears was not. They're all little Antichrist Hitler dumbasses. They all are. But it's not going to work the way. History does not repeat itself. That's the whole thing, the butterfly effect. You know, when it happens one way, it won't happen that exact same way the next time. And it's not working this way. I know from my training when I was a kid that those fucking camps that they were going to use were supposed to be up and running by 2015. Because all of this shit that was going on, all of this Nazi bullshit, that's what frustrates me. Because this whole fucking Haitians eating goddamn animals is being fueled by fucking neo-Nazis. Which is exactly what Doug Mesner and his little fucking group are. A bunch of goddamn neo-Nazis. It's all fucking Nazis. You know? Thank you. I like my bow ties. And it's Sunday. And I'm in here to try and educate. So that's when you look back, when you look last September, just a year ago, the FBI busted his global satanic Nazi pedophile ring. And this is all connected to it. It's all connected. And yes, I've gone through hell, but the funny thing about it is that I think it's all been for a reason, because what I have that most survivors did not have is a continuous documented history. That's what I have in all of this. There are some of you that have watched me for so long. It's all because I've been at this for the same thing over and over and over. That's why it gets exhausting. That's the reason why I'm doing this video right now. Because I said last night that I was going to do it in the afternoon, but I don't want to do it in the afternoon. I don't want to have to dread this all damn day. And so, well, the jaundice babies, what we're going to experience is that heaven is making it to where there will be no more babies. Because the X flares that we're getting has so much gamma radiation that it's fucking radiating the entire planet. And when that happens, everyone becomes sterile. That's how it works. And it's starting to happen in nature as well because of all of the gamma radiation from all of the X flares and the coronal mass injections, because they're not the same thing. Coronal mass injections can actually be way more intense than X flares, but with the X flares, we're also getting the heat, and it's not bouncing off the magnetic field because there is no magnetic field right now because the poles are getting ready to switch. Which, by the way, they've done before. It's just at a really inopportune moment this time. And so I know that all of this stuff is going to come out. I know that all of this stuff is going to come out. And this group that didn't think they could be touched Oh, the asteroids. Asteroids are coming, dude. If you look at the video or the pictures from NASA, that shit that Betelgeuse just got rid of its entire surface and shot it straight at Earth. And there's a picture that shows that it's coming straight at us. When it hits us, fuck, that shit could knock the moon into the fucking Earth, let alone knock the Earth out of fucking orbit. It is wormwood. That is wormwood. It's right in front of us. We have fucking pictures of it, you know? And from NASA, they have 4 pictures together. And the very last picture used to be entitled The View from Earth, but they don't have that anymore. Now it's called something else. But if you look at it, it's directly coming at us. And so, dude, yes, nobody alive will be around when this arrives. Wrong. Betelgeuse is, 90 light years away? That's nothing in space. It's only 9. It's the closest thing. That's why we are watching it so closely. Because they're not even sure that it's not about to go into supernova. And since our sun is doing all kinds of weird ass shit, maybe, just maybe, as it is written, the stars fall out of the fucking sky. It's all written. It's not 90 years away. I bet. Maybe. But what difference does it make? Because we're all going to be cooked to a crisp by then. The sun is, that's what's happening. Everything, and unfortunately, all of this shit has been prophesized. And now it's playing out right in front of our faces, and people don't want to see it. That's how it works. Oh God, I feel kind of sorry for that kid who's getting ready to turn 19. You know? Fuck, you couldn't pay me to go back. And be that age now? Oh man. All you can do is build a driveway long enough to see what's coming up. We're fucked. The volcanoes are going crazy. You know, if California moves, chances are the new Madrid is also going to move. That's how it kind of works. If the new Madrid moves, we lose the entire Midwest. And all of this is starting to play out. And that's why I tell everyone, fill your hearts with love, because there ain't shit any of us can do to stop this. And so fill your hearts with love. Save your souls. I just know that heaven is here. I know that it's at the end. The powers that protected and fueled and made all of this work aren't here anymore. They don't have that ability. It's not here anymore. That's why everything is fallen to shit. And it is going to fall to shit. All of it is going to fall to shit. And so the sun is getting worse. It is only a matter of time before we get hit with the Carrington event. And the Carrington event is going to fry the fucking power grids. It's going to fry everything electronic. We will be back in the fucking dark ages. And it's coming because the sun is getting more intense. It's not getting less. It's getting more. And it's already incredibly... And they have everybody focused on the pretty lights. Ooh, well, you can see the auroras now in the United States. And nobody even considers the fact that, wow, maybe seeing the aurora in fucking Texas isn't normal and something's wrong. You know, you would think. Oh, I look on the outside. The upside about all of this is that God is getting ready to answer its prayers, or our prayers. And yes, you see the aurora in Alaska, but the aurora has been coming down into the United States because of all of the solar flares. No, it's not on the fucking national news. You're not going to see it on MSNBC or Fox News or anything like that. But if you go to space.com, which is NASA's site, it's all over there. Constantly. You know? Constantly. The shit is happening. That's how it's working. I'm not pulling any of this shit out of my ass. And no, it's not comfortable. And yeah, it sucks. They call it the time of sorrows for a fucking reason. You know? Because it's not a happy time. But you gotta keep your faith. You know? You gotta keep your faith. Focus on the word. At this time, focus on the word. I did that history lesson, but really when it comes down to it, it's never going to get investigated and go to court and be prosecuted and then go to jail. And that's never what my focus was, because that wasn't ever enough for me. You do not understand what these people do and who these people are and the shit that they're doing. You don't understand. And, oh yeah, they go to jail and end up like fucking Jeffrey Epstein did when he went to jail, you know, get to come and go whenever he wants. He had to sleep there on the weekends. No. That stuff and notice how they rated all of this stuff with Jeffrey Epstein, but no one knows anything anymore than Jeffrey Epstein. That all needs to be taken care of. That all needs to be dealt with. You know? But the connections, again, my book is for sale. I got nominated. Book of the year. Let's see if I can get it. Book of the year. When I published it. You know? It's not like I'm just talking out my ass. I've been talking about this stuff forever. Forever and ever and ever. All this child trafficking, all of this fucking devil-loving bullshit. Anton Scalia was murdered at a ranch that had fucking devil heads on all of the walls. They lined the walls. And this ranch was only for the super rich. It was in the middle of nowhere. You could only be super rich to go there. And so, oh, dudes, I'm done. But, so, and how I know this is how I found out that Anton Scalia's throat was slit by a 13-year-old. I know it was a 13-year-old boy from experience, but there was a investigator, investigative journalist who was down there named Dave Valentine, and he wasn't there because of Anton Scalia. He was in there because he was trying to get into the ranch, and so he knew that he was the one, Dave Valentine was the one who found out that Anton Scalia, and what he reported was that investigators were not saying the person who they weren't saying who the 13-year-old, they weren't even releasing the sex, but I knew it was a boy. That's the reason why Anton Scalia didn't have a viewing, which was really unusual for a Supreme Court justice, didn't have an autopsy, and was buried immediately. And because they were hiding that, because a 13-year-old slit his throat. And I know he was fucking probably either gonna molest the kid or did molest the kid or whatever, you know? I don't know the details, but then they say he's okay, but then when they reported it, they said he had a pillow over his head. That's how I knew that Dave Valentine was telling the truth. Because why? Obviously they were doing something. They, you know, but all of this shit is getting ready to come out. And there's no hiding it anymore. And it is coming out. And as far as my shit goes, all of it's being investigated. It's all being investigated. Because they're going to look at that gas station because it's just so blatant in your face. And then once they start to realize, that's the reason why I have people coming out of the woodwork, you know, because the gatekeepers, they're in trouble too. And there's a lot of gatekeepers out there. They're almost all gatekeepers, you know? They're almost all gatekeepers because that's all that they let out there, you know? All of the people, I've said this before, if they have a lot of viewers and a lot of people watching and they're really well known, they're all them. That's them. Because they don't allow that for most people, you know? They don't allow that. Survivors get closed down all the time. That is Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. That's his whole fucking history. His whole history is closing down, finding survivors and closing them down. I am not by far the first or the only. Long history. Like I said last night, completely connected with Amber Volantin, completely, and that whole thing with Lori King was bullshit. You know, it didn't even make sense. Amber Volantin drove 2.5 hours to Lori King, showed up, took Lori King back 2.5 hours back to Amber Volantin's house, the same weekend that the second annual Ivory Garden conference was going at. Lori King was one of the founders of Ivory Garden. They had just convinced Lori King to take all her shit offline. She had taken everything offline. And so the same weekend that the Ivory Garden Conference is going on in Seattle, one of the co-founders of Ivory Garden, Amber Volatin, drives up and gets Lori King 2.5 hours, drives back to Amber Volatin's 2.5 hours, and then Lori King commits suicide at Amber Volatin's house on the same weekend. You know, it's just bizarre. You know, it's bizarre. And all of it matters to heaven. They fucking live in the dark. The dark is just here to claim them. And it's about damn time. And it's gonna make their lives a fucking misery before it does. Because the darkness likes to play with its prey. You know? There are farmers who hire other workers from other countries. You know? If we got rid of all the migrants, all of the people here from other countries, like they want to, and deport all these people, our economy's going to fucking crash. It's going to crash because it's dependent. You know, I'm sorry to say, it's dependent. And this whole Haitian thing, eating fucking people's animals, knowing that it was from one Facebook post. Do you know the stupid shit I have read on Facebook? One Facebook post. And it was someone's sister's friend's cousin saw it was bullshit. It was dumb. And it's being propagated by neo-Nazis. You know, and that is right there in front of everyone's face. If you're okay with fucking Nazis, be okay with it. You know, be who you are. Be proud. But you ain't gonna like what happens to you in the end. You know? There is no body cam footage. When you have the police and the whole... They are upset because now they're going through bombings, school bombings. People are threatening to bomb schools. They are afraid. You know? It's just crazy bullshit. And even then, you know, I'm just not going to get caught up with it. If it's not happening around you, then fill your hearts with fucking love. You know? It's just, there is no, oh my God, I don't want to argue about it. Water is good for you, but you can drown on it. Yeah, like Max Spears. They drowned him in his fucking tub. The reason why I know that is because his mother told me that when she got the body back, his phone was waterlogged. So of course, my question would be, did Max have his phone with him all the time? And she said yes. So when they did the autopsy, you know, all of the bullshit with Max, and they tell all of that body cam by cops was bullshit, and it's being fed by fucking Nazis. And I'm not gonna fucking argue about it because it's being fed by fucking Nazis. And they have proof of it, and these idiots have gone out and bragged about it. So I believe what I see and what I hear enough to be able to at least think about it. Nazis want to tell you don't believe what, you know, or only believe what they want. And now we have AI, so God knows, watching shit like that, who the fuck can tell? You know? And there are bad people out there who will take advantage of it because they're surrounding me. They know all about laws and how to skirt them and how it. and it's all Nazi bullshit. You know, it's all Nazi bullshit. I'm not saying that Doug Mesner, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, is a fucking Luciferian, but I am for certain telling you him and his group are fucking Nazis. You know? And this whole argument is no, they say they're not. You know? Yeah, because Nazis can't lie. You know, Nazis are never known for fucking lies. Doing whatever the fuck they want, making whatever excuses. It's like we've lost our history of what we knew about Nazis. And, Jesus. Anyway, I like my bow ties. And if I look like Colonel Sanders, he was rich. Maybe I do look like Colonel Sanders, you know? I've never actually thought about it. Dude, I'm not going to argue about it. It's being propagated by Nazis. In fact, I'm not going to argue about it anymore. I'm just not having Nazis. Yeah, exactly. Bye. And, thank you. I like bow ties. It was Sunday. And I just feel like coming in here and I had been praying this morning because it took me a while to prepare for this because I knew talking about this would end up at one point pissing me off. Probably more than once. And, but I also realized that it's important for people to know. And a lot of this has been, all of it, pretty much of what I've said is being documented. Confessions of an Antichrist, Rabbit Hole, which you can buy for $30 and I'll inscribe it. And Venmo, PayPal, D Shurter. So it's just my first initial, my last name. Tell me who I'm inscribing it to, tell me where I'm sending it, and $30. And it's just interesting how everything is starting to work. Oh man, I was doing some cleaning work and I must have hit my shin because it has a little bit of blood on it. Gross. I need to get off of here so I can go wash my shin off. I don't know what the hell I did. But sometimes I'm clumsy and I've had to get a lot of stuff done. Let me pray quick before we're done. Father, I come to you. Just please open people's minds and their hearts and at least let them consider what I'm saying and not let their cognitive dissonance take over so that they just dismiss it. And if I can compel anyone is to follow what you commanded us to do and live the word. You know, love God, love everyone else. That's what your son came and taught. And then gave us direction on how to do it. We're very so appreciative. But open our hearts, open people's minds so that they can at least listen to what I have to say, because I'm just saying it as I see it and as I've experienced it. And let this live video get out there so that people who are looking for the answers actually can understand where I'm coming from so that they know why these idiots have been after me for so long, trying to shut me up because it's this kind of stuff. And you have me here for a reason, doing this. So I'm grateful that you've watched out over me and protected me as you have, even though this has sucked. And I say these things gratefully in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. I felt like that prayer was getting into a bitch session. And so I do have a lot of love in my heart, and I'm somewhat animated. I just really, if I can impress people on one thing, it's live the word. You know, the stuff that I'm talking about with all of the stuff in the past, that's all being dealt with. And the funny thing about it is that this group knows. So their own paranoia is eating them alive. And it should. You know, that's how it works. Like I said, the dark likes to play with its prey before it claims it. And as I learned from my little group that raised me, anticipation makes the blood sweeter. And you get what you give. So they're reaping what they sow. I was trained to do stuff psychically. I was not trained to kill. However, my family making me light that dude on fire when I was 10 fucked everything up, fucked all of my training. And I know in the past, because Fiona went through all of that, but it started when she was a teenager, which makes sense because when you're 13 is when you have to do your first ritual kill. So I never got to do my first ritual kill, thank God. You know, that's why I think that heaven was watching out over the whole thing. So, but I don't know what is me. I don't know what are the protection rituals that were cast on me as a kid and what is heaven. It's hard to differentiate, but people who fuck with me, because it's always the bad guys, because that's all I'm ever focused with, because I'm not, you know, they're never happy in the end. Fucking with me isn't fun, and I don't really even usually have to do anything. And that was the way it was even growing up. That's why I never did anything to anyone, because shit would end up happening, you know, to people. Their lives would end up becoming a misery. And wasn't anything I was doing, but it just seemed like that. Or maybe they were just fucking miserable people in the first place, and that's why they came at me. You know, that could be it too, because, you know, it takes a miserable fucking bitch to go out of their way to cause misery in other people. Happy people who are content and peaceful with themselves don't go out of their way to create misery for others. In fact, just the opposite. And so, see, I don't know, you know, of the people that interviewed me with, and Clay Douglas was one of those people who interviewed me, I didn't know who any of them were. I just remember, and this wasn't Clay Douglas, but I was going on an interview with Fiona, and the dude right before we're supposed to go on live, told me on the thing, you know, aren't you afraid they're just going to show up and shoot you in the head? If I were you, I'd be afraid that they're just going to show up and shoot you in the head. Said that right before we were supposed to do the interview. And Fiona was just like, oh my fucking God, you know? I miss those days, but I can't talk to anybody. I don't not talk to Fiona because of all the shit with Isaac Cappy, because I knew what was going on because I was on the phone. But we stopped talking after Isaac Cappy, and like I said, we've talked maybe twice since Isaac Cappy has died. And every time we get into an argument because she wants me out of this. You know, she's out of it. She wants me out of it. She thinks that it goes nowhere. And she's right. She's not telling me anything that everyone in my fucking life hasn't told me. You know, that it doesn't go anywhere and all of that. But I have faith that it is going someplace, you know, and I trust that it's going someplace. And so I stay in this. But fuck, everyone in my life has wanted me out of this, you know, including Owen. You know, Owen was my brother-in-law for 20 years and then became my really super good friend after they broke up. So I found some stencils, but you cannot believe how hard it is to find stencils. It is, at least in Omaha, it's like bizarre. And I've even gone to Dick Blick's, which is like an art store. You would think they would have stencils. So no. So what I might end up doing is just making my own. You know, but making my own is going to take a little bit more because I have to draw it out. Then I have to take an X-Acto knife and cut it out the way I need it to be cut out. And so, but I might end up just doing that. I have to say that I have not. I have been just kind of looking at life. I was sad about Owen the other day. I'm still sad. I am gonna go eat. Someone contributed $45. I want to say thank you. I'm warning you. I'm not taking it out yet because I'm gonna get up. I figure $55 probably be at least a $20 tip. And all of that. I'm going to go eat at that. I've never had meat sweats. It sounds disgusting, but it would be more fun if Owen was here to do it with me, but it's just something I'm going to do as a tribute to Owen. So I'm just telling you guys. I'm selling books to try and get money, you know. And for me, it's a worthy cause. I'm going to go honor my friend and go eat something that I would never eat, and I'll probably never eat again. Because I am poor. And I don't even like to eat fast food. I don't even want to spend $20. $20, I can go make myself a meal for $20 and have leftovers. You know? So I need to look at Amazon. Clay was always, I never had a problem with Clay Douglas at all. He was great. You know, he was, I won't say, you know, they were all, it was, I went through a period where I did all of the interviews and I was going around all the, you know, but it was exhausting and I did feel like I was on display. So did Fiona. That's why Fiona and I have a hard time because she thinks I'm crazy staying in this because it ruined her health. It ruined everything about her. But I've been thinking about her because I've been thinking about her and Isaac together. And I've been thinking a lot about Isaac lately as well. Because Isaac and I really didn't, we dealt with each other, but we'd never met, never laid eyes on each other. And we always just talked about me and the shit that I went through. I didn't really know that much about Isaac, and we never really talked about it. And had I known, Isaac had some really shitty friends. No wonder he was mad, because he was mad, because when he was at Fiona's, that month that he was at Fiona's, I wouldn't talk to him on the phone. He asked a couple times, and I said, Fiona had asked me, you know. I said, no. Because right before that, he told me that he had 4 fucking phone numbers of Michael Aquino, and he was just harassing Michael Aquino on the phone. No, fucking dumbass. I don't need that kind of shit in my life. These people are bad enough as it is. I antagonize this group enough on my own. I don't need something dumbass like that happen. And I was mad, you know. Now I at one point I wish I would have reached out, but now, fuck having to deal with his friends, because that's the Dead Isaac Happy Club. Fuck, you know. I just don't know what to think anymore, you know. That's why God's going to end up dealing with it, because it's all going to be investigated. It's all going to be investigated. Because all the shit that's coming now down the pike, because of that gas station, now when people are fucking going to my sheriff, I bet he's not telling people bullshit anymore. I bet he's not telling people that I'm paranoid schizophrenic anymore. I bet he's not. I bet he's not. Just, I don't know for a fact, but I bet he's not. Because, dumbass, just, they all thought they couldn't be touched, you know? That no one could actually hold them fucking accountable. And, it's about time someone does. And it's been awful. It's been rough. It has been torture with their fucking microwave shit, which they're hitting with me really hard right now, you know? But in the end, it'll all be worth it. And I didn't do it by myself. Because you want to know what? Heaven beat that side fucking hands down the first time. You really think you're you're like ants dealing with a giant, you know? God has you, and I'm talking to the bad guys. You're so fucked, you have no idea how fucked you are. You have no idea what's right in front of you. No idea. I'm the least of your fucking worries. The very least of your worries. Yeah, thank you. You did it. God did. The whole thing about it is that I couldn't have done anything I've done without God. Because I felt like I felt like I was being protected. And you're told when you have faith, you're not supposed to have fear. And I ended up, Luciferians take everything literally. So I took a lot of what Jesus Christ taught literally. I think it should be, I'm not saying take the whole Bible literally, because I have misgivings, because editing matters a lot. And, but I will say that the teachings of Jesus Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the Gospel of Thomas, you know, that's another one that's supposed to be the direct teachings of Jesus Christ. It's the same, they're all infallible. God is inside of us and all around us. Appreciate it and love all you can. That's the simple equation to all of it. You know, figure out a way, you know, to love all you can. That's especially now. And I think that God does protect all of you. And the whole thing about it is that when you end up, remember, in the end, people who have faith and live the word, we're supposed to be martyred, even though I'm not sure that's going to end up happening anymore. You know, heaven is in control and heaven is pissed. I can't stress it enough, because heaven, them trying to get me to, and who I would have poisoned with that cake that they were hoping I'd feed to people, would have been people who are actually living the word. Because the friends that I have around here, there are several, hey Sherilyn, there are several people, we don't know who wrote the Gospel of Thomas. We don't, but it's very similar. But heaven, I assure you, heaven is inside of us and all around us. Be sure of what you hope for, which means you have to know yourself. Be sure of what you hope for, and certain of what you do not see. And certain of what you do not see means Heaven has answered your prayers before you even uttered the words. Believe in that. If you know, but that doesn't work for bad shit. I mean, it does, but you draw to yourself bad stuff. You know, stay away from the dark as much as you can. You know, and that's hard to do. But we're called to do it, but we're also called to lead by example, which means loving as much as you can. And it sounds trite. It sounds trite. But I will tell you, being raised by a bunch of fucking child-killing devil lovers, my dad being a serial child killer, my stepmother was right along with him, and she's still alive. I will tell you that I believe without a doubt in heaven and in God, and everything is coming to we are almost, we're to the point where everything is over. It's all crumbling. There's no way to stop it from crumbling. It's gonna crumble. It has to crumble. And there's not one thing that's gonna stay up in part. Go ahead, vote for whoever you want, you know. If everyone was in this cult, how come I was ever asked to join? The whole thing about it is with this cult is, what I know is a lot of people are born into it. They do recruit dumbasses. Things have changed since I was a kid too, because the people involved with this now are not like the people that were involved with it when I was a kid. I think that they've been entitled for so long and have felt like they were able to do whatever they wanted for so long that their brains have turned to mush. And they're entitled, they have a sense of entitlement, they expect to have what they want, but now they don't have a way to actually make it happen, because now it has to be from them. They have to think about it. They have to make it happen themselves. And none of them are used to that. They were leeches, leeching off of beings that they should have never leached off of. They played with spiritual principalities that would have been best left the fuck alone. But they didn't. And now it's all over with, because none of that is accessible to them anymore. It's all them. And they have to figure it out. And they can do whatever fucking nasty ritual shit they want to do. Fucking murder 1,000 kids. None of it's going to work. And in fact, not only is it not going to work, but the shit that you do, all of that shit's going to come back at you. Because for the bad guys, doing whatever the fuck you want it, and never paying a day's price, those days are fucking over. Now it's all about accountability and retro-fucking-bution. And I have said this over and over and over. You know, heaven has restored those children. You don't die. You go to the other side. And heaven the dead are all alive, you know, they're all here. It's the dead, the fact that the Bible says that the dead will rise, doesn't mean there's going to be a fucking zombie apocalypse. It means that you don't die. There's no death on the other side. And the only thing separating this side and that side is a fucking veil. And once you die, that veil goes away and you go to the other side. There is no death. This is a matrix. It's a spiritual matrix. That's what you have to understand. And what's the key to the spiritual matrix? Living the word, doing what you're told, living the word, being obedient. If you don't want to be obedient, fine, be claimed by the fucking dark, you know? Oh, I know. That zombie, the CDC has zombie prep stuff in their website. Yes. You know? It's just, there is no death. I know that as a shaman. On the other side, there is no death. You can't connect like you can on this side with each other. No, you can't. But there is no death. And, no, we are not. Many, only a few get ascent. Only a few will ascend. And if you find yourself in the dark, all you have to do is look in the mirror to find out who put you there. That's how it works. You'll have no one to blame but yourself. And by that time, you're fucked. You are going to spend an eternity in the dark. And after an eternity in the dark, not one soul that spends an eternity in the dark will ever choose dark or evil again. Ever. It is the cure. Because these Nazi motherfuckers like fear. So they get fear. You know? The second death is, because they only stay in there for an eternity. And an eternity is one form of time. You know? I love that bear picture. I didn't say anything about it, Cognitive. That is the cutest bear picture. And I watch TikTok things where people are making friends with wild animals, and I just watched one where they saved a bear cub and raised it, and then the mom showed up, then the dad showed up, and I think that animals are amazing. I think that life is amazing, you know. And I will tell you that having the energy of love in your heart is better than anything that you can imagine. Because I do. I have that energy. I know I have that energy. That's what keeps me here. I don't do it because I'm deriving anything. Yes, in the last, year or so, I started asking for donations. Ooh. But for the most part, I've done this because I care, you know? Of course I care. It's not that I'm just commanded to care, but I actually genuinely do care. And I don't want all of this shit to happen the way it's happening. And so someone needs to take a stand and make it stop. And the shit that I was trained to do and all of that has been very effective. And I know that all of heaven is here. And we just need to keep reminding each other that heaven is here and keep supporting and uplifting each other. We all need each other to keep ourselves uplifted. And that's what's important. Not a judgment. It's just, we're not meant to judge. We're just meant to uplift. But with that said, as much as I hate it, I have animals who obviously want to go outside because I can hear them barking downstairs. And I've been here for 2 hours. So I don't like to go much over 2 hours. The beginning was a history lesson. As you can see, I was pissed off, but then when I stopped thinking about it and I actually started talking about stuff that I think is really important stuff, it completely changes my attitude. Focusing on heaven, there's just nothing like it, especially now. And even at times when it's not in your best interest, do it, because it's worth it. And with that said, Have a really nice day.